Welcome to Buddhist Bookshelf, your gateway to profound Buddhist teachings. Today, we're excited to present The Awakening of Wisdom and Compassion, an enlightening 6-part audiobook series by the esteemed Venerable Master Chin Kung. This series takes you on a profound journey into the timeless wisdom and compassion central to Buddhism. Venerable Master Chin Kung's teachings offer invaluable insights on how wisdom and compassion can deeply enrich our lives and lead us to inner peace. Join us in this exploration of spiritual growth and enlightenment as we dive into the heart of these teachings. If you haven't already, we encourage you to subscribe to our channel. By doing so, you become a part of our growing community committed to spreading the wonderful teachings of the Buddha. Your subscription allows us to continue sharing these invaluable lessons with the world. If you find this audiobook series inspiring, don't forget to hit the like button and share it with your friends and family. Together, we can help make the teachings of the Buddha accessible to every human being, fostering understanding, peace, and compassion across the globe. Thank you for joining us on this enlightening journey, and let's work together to illuminate the path of wisdom and compassion for all. In this episode, we'll pick up where we left off in Chapter 6. The 6 Principles of Harmony. The 3 conditions are the basis for individual cultivation, whereas the 6 principles of harmony are the basis for group cultivation. The Sangha is a group of 4 or more people who properly practice the Buddha's teachings together, especially the 6 principles of harmony. They are: sharing the same viewpoints or goals, abiding by the same precepts, living and practicing together harmoniously, according with others and not quarreling, experiencing the inner peace and happiness from practicing together harmoniously, and sharing benefits harmoniously. Sharing the same viewpoints or goals. This means mutual understanding or agreement. A group needs to share the same viewpoints of the principles and methods for study and practice. This is the basis for harmonious group cultivation. If a society is to remain stable, its members need to live in harmony. Only harmony can draw us together in terms of opinions, ideas, and our way of life. In other words, being harmonious can minimize the differences in human relations and improve equality. After that, peace, and then finally, happiness can be achieved. To attain happiness, we must have a peaceful heart and body. Both Buddhist and worldly teachings emphasize the importance of harmony and respect. A few years ago, I went to Beijing and visited the Forbidden City, where there are 3 main palaces, the names of which all contain the word harmony. This shows that the early emperors of the Qing dynasty, the last dynasty, tried to rule the country with harmony. However, the disharmony, which plagued the imperial family at the beginning of this century, ended the dynasty. Therefore, harmony is crucial for lasting peace and happiness. Buddha Shakyamuni provided innumerable methods to practice, but he did not intend that we try them all. We need to find the one most appropriate for us, and then remember that the key lies in exclusive pursuit. In ancient times, the Pure Land school adopted 3 sutras and 1 sastra. Now we emphasize 5 sutras and 1 sastra. As stated in an ancient Chinese textbook, of all the teaching principles, exclusive pursuit is the most important. Suppose some people like the Infinite Life Sutra while others prefer the Amitabha Sutra. Can these 2 groups of people merge into one? They may merge, but they cannot practice harmoniously together, for when one half begins to recite the Infinite Life Sutra, the other half will want to recite the Amitabha Sutra. In order to create group unity, it will be necessary to set up 2 separate way places. This explains why there are so many different way places, even though we are all Pure Land practitioners. The same principle applies to choosing sutras with multiple commentaries. Which one will we use? This will result in a further setting up of way places. The same process can even occur when deciding which form of chanting to follow. Some prefer to chant slowly Namo Amichuofo, while others prefer a very fast Amichuofo, Amichuofo, Amichuofo. It would be very difficult for the 2 groups to practice harmoniously together. The people in ancient way places were able to achieve because everyone shared the same viewpoints and goals and practiced the same method without intermingling. Their very atmosphere was conducive to magnificence and peace. Thus, all those who entered naturally gave rise to respect. Unfortunately, a common situation in modern way places is that the teachings of various schools are intermingled. Contradictions and conflicts are unavoidable, and it will be difficult for practitioners to focus, much less to succeed. So, it becomes evident that sharing the same viewpoints or goals is crucial in a way place. If the people in a group share similar ideas and viewpoints as well as the same interests and objectives, they can remain in harmony and thus form a sangha. However, they may as well form a separate one if differences arise. Otherwise, there would be conflicts and no one would succeed. By providing an infinite number of methods for cultivation, the Buddha meant to ensure that people of different viewpoints and interests would all be able to succeed in their cultivation. Thus, it is said that all paths lead to the same goal, as all methods are equal. This demonstrates the Buddha's great compassionate heart, as he never forces anyone to practice one particular method. As we have seen from the example in the Visualization Sutra, Madame Videhi, being overwhelmed by the suffering in this world, asked Buddha Shakyamuni to tell her of a place where suffering did not exist. Instead of directing her to the Western Pure Land, he displayed all the Buddha lands for her, so that she could choose one for herself. This is unlike most of us who want others to accept our opinions. I have been practicing this method. It's great. Come and try it. When others have different ideas and viewpoints, this will often disrupt the harmony of the group, and is the very thing we should guard against. The best way to introduce Buddhism is to provide a general introduction to the Mahayana teachings and practices, and let others choose whichever method they prefer. Those who prefer Buddha name chanting can practice together, those who prefer meditation can practice together. In this way, everybody has a place to go for cultivation, and there is no need to pressure anyone into using one particular method. All methods are equal and were taught to meet our different needs, abilities and levels of understanding. Thus, each school should respect and praise the other. This is the true practice of the first harmony. Abiding by the same precepts. When we live and practice together, we need to have rules and regulations, for without them there will be disorder. Needless to say, the rules need to include the 5 fundamental precepts set by the Buddha. Rules vary for lay sanghas and those at way places. The former conforms to the 5 fundamental precepts, the latter to the monk or nun precepts. In addition, common rules, regulations and local laws and customs are also to be observed. These all comprise the permanent resident agreement of a way place. 1 or 2 members can be designated to draft the rules, which are then presented to the group for discussion and voting. Each individual living in the way place must abide by the agreement once it is set up. If every member respects and abides by the agreement, there will be no discord within the group, because all have equal status, and no special privileges are granted to anyone. Thus, the Sangha is truly democratic and law-abiding. Living and practicing together harmoniously. The purpose of establishing a way place is to help everyone achieve in group practice. It is definitely not to help individuals escape their worldly responsibilities. It is a serious mistake to think this way, especially in the light of all the offerings way places receive from followers, and the reality that every offering will have to be repaid, if not in this lifetime then in a future lifetime. The manner of living together does not mean that each person has his or her own room. If luxurious and comfortable facilities are available, it will be very difficult to achieve. Why? The Earth Treasure Sutra tells us that every single movement or stirring of thoughts on the part of the living beings is karma and an offense. For uncountable eons we have been deluded and confused, and have thus committed infinite wrongdoings. Consequently, we have developed and accumulated infinite bad habits. When with others, we usually try to be civilized and behave ourselves. But, when alone, we tend to indulge ourselves in doing whatever we feel comfortable with, and easily forget proper conduct. To counter this, members of the group share sleeping quarters. These quarters in a traditional way place are comprised of one large bed with a space for each person. Quilts are neatly folded as in an army barracks. Life in a way place is even more rigorous than that of the army, and the monks and nuns are even more disciplined than the soldiers are. Only by living in such a disciplined way place are we able to mold our temperament and reform ourselves through the three learnings of self-discipline, deep concentration and wisdom. This is true cultivation. However, there are exceptions in way places. For example, the managing monk and the executive deputy chief, due to their responsibilities, have their own rooms, which is usually very small, in order for them to plan and take care of daily tasks without disturbing others. Monks and nuns, who are aged or ill, also have their own rooms. To accomplish our cultivation, this shared living is necessary, even in today's affluent society. Not quarreling. All the members who live together need to do so without quarreling. In this way, they can best concentrate their efforts on cultivation. When people are together, the most frequent act is that of speech, so speech karma is the easiest to commit. We have a proverb, illness enters by the mouth, trouble exits from the mouth. Another is more speech, more trouble. One who eats too much easily becomes sick. One who talks too much easily gets into trouble. Sometimes misunderstandings arise because the listener is sensitive while the speaker is careless. Both parties develop resentment and hatred, which gives rise to endless retaliation in the future. This is why ancient sages advised us to speak one sentence less of chatter, chant once more the Buddha's name. The less we speak, the better it is, for the less trouble we will be in. Ideally, we would only speak when it was necessary. When I was in Los Angeles, a friend told me about the 3-day Zen retreat his high school son had attended. Once inside, no one was allowed to talk. The daily practice was sitting meditation from 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. and from 7:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. Nothing else was done. Keeping silent for 3 days in a way place like this will help us to calm down and relax. The boy was so impressed that he wanted to go back for the longer winter session. The distinctive feature of such a way place is the harmony of silence and no quarreling. So, at a strict way place where chatting or other irrelevant talk is forbidden, there is virtually no opportunity for quarreling. Almost exclusively, all we will find is the silent or voiced continuous chanting of a Michuofo in the chanting hall. In an esoteric way place, the chanting of mantras is ceaseless. For instance, during my early stage of Buddhist study, I was under the guidance of living Buddha Master Zhang Jia for 3 years. Through my observation, he never stopped silently chanting a mantra while moving his lips even when he was with visitors. He only paused to talk and as soon as he was finished, would resume his silent chanting. This silent chanting while moving our lips is a form of practice called diamond recitation. Master Zhang Jia was one of the sincerest practitioners I have ever met. His mind was pure without any attachments or wandering thoughts. His teaching method was unique. He never spoke a word until he found the listener attentive and concentrated. He then spoke only a few words while looking directly into your eyes. Each of his words bore heavy weight, which his listener would never forget and adhere to for the rest of his or her life. The goal of our practice is to eradicate all afflictions and attain the Buddha name chanting samadhi. If we do not practice this method, it will be very difficult for us to achieve this goal. Experiencing the inner peace and happiness from practicing together harmoniously. This is to savor the Dharma bliss. Whichever practice method we choose, the basic achievement we have in our practice is happiness. If we feel unhappy after beginning our practice, we have definitely encountered a serious problem. But the problem does not lie with the Buddha's teachings. We may have done something that goes against the principles of these teachings, or we may have chosen the wrong method. Otherwise, the results would be evident: awakening from confusion and obsession, leaving sufferings behind and obtaining happiness. With each passing year, we would have fewer worries while enjoying greater happiness and freedom. This is the evidence of success in our practice. If we are not achieving this, then we need to determine the problem. If we can correct our mistakes, find the root cause of our afflictions and sever them, we can then benefit from our practice. Practicing Buddhism is to experience life and to train our minds. Buddhist cultivation arises from our minds as we participate in daily life. What kind of mind do we cultivate? One of purity. When we have proper viewpoints and understanding and truly dedicate ourselves to Buddhism, regardless of who we are or what our circumstances are, whether favorable or unfavorable, we will be able to reduce karmic debts and to plant the seeds of good fortune, wisdom and happiness. How then can we be unhappy? A feeling of joy naturally arises from our heart as we savor the Dharma bliss. If we practice together harmoniously, everybody will attain this Dharma joy, everybody will attain achievement. Sharing benefits equally. In ancient times, ordained people led a simple life with one meal a day. They received food donated by people in the village, rested under the trees at night and cultivated constantly. So, the way place was more like a school to educate the local community on Buddhism. Learned and far-sighted people built them with the financial support from those who were wealthy and held high status in the community. Then well-known and respected monks were invited to cultivate and conduct the teachings. Way places were Buddhist educational institutions where everyone shared equally. If this principle were to be applied to society, there would be no psychological imbalance and hence no social disturbances. At way places, none of the 6 harmonies can be neglected, or else there will not be a true Sangha. As the Chinese say, harmony in the family is the basis for any undertaking. Similarly, if a country is united, it will not be easy for another power to dominate it, because the power of unity is inconceivable. Consequently, if a family, company, social group or a country can practice 3 of the 6 harmonies of sharing the same viewpoints or goals, observing the same precepts, and sharing benefits equally, they will become prosperous. We find an example in the business world where Japanese business developed dramatically after World War II. It has only been half a century, but these businesses were among the most successful in the world. Why? They have practiced these 3 harmonies. By sharing the same viewpoints and goals, the Sangha can reach common understanding. By abiding by the same precepts, all abide by the laws. By sharing all benefits equally, everyone is assured that there will be fairness in all things. The importance of harmony also holds for the family. As the Chinese say, harmony in the family is the basis for any undertaking. One day, a student of mine asked for my opinion about the kind of person he should marry. I told him, you should try to find someone who has the same viewpoints and goals that you do. Then you will help each other and enjoy a happy family life. You cannot just emphasize love, for love is volatile and unreliable. It may fade after the 2 of you get married, at which point everything can change. Therefore, a happy family life is built upon the basis of the 6 harmonies. If we do not understand this, it will be difficult for us to have a happy and enjoyable family. The 3 learnings. We know that the very nature of Buddhism is education. It encompasses a large number of subjects, which cover the perfect knowledge of life in the universe. The textbooks for these subjects are sutras. However, not all of the sutras in India were brought to China. Because of the difficulties in the long journey between China and India in ancient times, both the Indian monks who visited China and the Chinese monks who returned after visiting India had to limit the number of books they carried. They selected the most important ones and had to leave the others behind. So, all the books that were introduced into China were considered the essence of Buddhism. However, after their introduction, not all of the books could be translated. Further screening had to be done, and only the best and the most essential were selected for the difficult translation process. The project was financed by the central government. Experts, who were monks and laypeople from all over China as well as from foreign countries, were invited to participate in the mammoth translation effort. According to historical records, Master Kumarajiva's Translation Institute had over 400 people, while Master Xuanzhuang's institute had more than 600 people. The name of the translator that we see today at the beginning of the sutra is the chief of the institute and represents all the translators in the group. The Chinese sutras that we have today are fairly complete. However, the Indian Sanskrit versions have been largely lost with few remaining. After the Chinese sutras, the second largest collection is that of Tibet. Part of this collection was translated directly from the Sanskrit, and the rest came from the Chinese versions. Princess Wencheng of the Tang dynasty brought Buddhist sutras to Tibet when she was married to the Tibetan king. This is why the introduction of Buddhism to Tibet was some 600 years later than the introduction of the teachings to Chinese. As the Tibetan king built up belief in Buddhism, a new school from India found its way into Tibet. An important part of the teachings are the three learnings of abiding by the precepts or self-discipline, deep concentration and wisdom. Accomplishment of these can relieve the suffering of this world. Buddha Shakyamuni told us how long the teachings would remain on this earth. The Dharma perfect age would last 500 years. The Dharma semblance age would last 1,000 years. The Dharma ending age that we are now in will last 10,000 years. What are the sufferings of the sentient beings in our current age? The first is committing the wrongdoings of the 10 bad conducts. The Buddha taught us the first learning of self-discipline to overcome these. The second suffering is the inability to remain serene and at peace. The Buddha taught us the second learning of deep concentration to achieve purity of mind and tranquility. The third suffering is ignorance. The Buddha taught us the third learning of wisdom to overcome our current state of ignorance. Committing wrongdoings, being confused and remaining in ignorance are three of the major problems of sentient beings in our contemporary world. The Buddha will teach when these problems afflict the sentient beings in our world. However, if the beings are not ill, there will be no need for the Buddha to teach. The Diamond Sutra says, in the end we even have to lay aside the Buddha's teachings, let alone the worldly teachings. When beings are well, the teachings are unnecessary and introducing them might even lead to more problems. This is similar to a healthy person taking medicine every day and eventually falling ill. Self-discipline cures our body, deep concentration cures our mind, and wisdom cures our behavior. Therefore, a person who practices Buddhism is wise in thought, speech and behavior. So how could such a person be unhappy? The 6 paramitas. Now that we understand the 3 conditions, the 3 learnings and the 6 principles of harmony, how do we use them in our daily lives when interacting with people and handling matters and objects? To answer this, Buddha Shakyamuni gave us the 6 paramitas of giving, abiding by the precepts, patience, diligence, deep concentration and wisdom. If we follow these in everything we do, from brushing our teeth in the morning until going to bed at night, we will be genuinely practicing the paramita of giving. The giving of wealth. Generally speaking, the majority of people seek wealth as their foremost pursuit, for without it, life can be very hard. After this, people pursue intelligence and wisdom, health and long life. Regardless of whether they are in the East or in the West. Whether they lived either in the past or are living now, these are major pursuits of humankind. If Buddhism is supposed to fulfill our wishes, can it provide these things for us? We have heard that in Buddhism, every sincere plea will receive a response. Then why have most people not received what they wished for? They are not aware of the true reality of life and universe or the right method to fulfill their wishes. If we understand these principles and truths, all our wishes can be fulfilled. The Buddha taught us that wealth, wisdom and long life are all karmic results. If we want to obtain the result, we must first nurture and establish the cause. Good causes result in good results. Bad causes result in bad results or retribution. Where there is a cause, there will be a result, and where there is a result, there was a cause. This is a law that never changes and the law around which all other laws in the universe revolve. Consider someone who is very wealthy. How did this happen? It is not because the person is unusually clever or has better ideas to make money. Many other people are cleverer and have better ideas. Why are they not successful? The Buddha taught us that having wealth is the karmic result of a cause planted in former lifetimes. What was this cause? It was through the giving of wealth. The giving of wealth results in obtaining wealth, the giving of teaching results in attaining wisdom, and the giving of fearlessness results in obtaining health and long life. Therefore, if we wish to have wealth, wisdom and long and healthy lives in our future, we need to nurture and establish these causes in this lifetime. Only a small number of people obtain the results from causes they developed in their early years. Regardless of the time frame, we must develop the cause to receive the result. This is the law of cause and effect. And this law never changes. Giving is the most important requirement for practicing the Bodhisattva way. If we could sum up all the methods in Buddhism, we would find that all methods accord with the 6 paramitas. When we condense the 6 paramitas, we find that their essence is giving. One of the types of giving is that of wealth. When most people hear this, they often think of donating money to a group, church, temple or way place. This is wrong because such thinking is too narrow in meaning and is far from the true Bodhisattva way. Selflessly remembering the welfare of others is the giving of wealth. Thus, everybody is practicing the giving paramita daily, and in this way, we are emulating bodhisattvas. We are just not aware of it. For example, when we get up in the morning and prepare breakfast for the family, we are practicing giving and kindness as did universal worthy bodhisattva. By doing so we will be happy. In this way we will have no thought of poor me, my family regards me as a servant. I have to wait on them every day. If we complain like this, all the good fortune we have achieved will vanish. But once we change our complaints and problems into the paramita of giving, we will immediately enjoy the benefits of the joy and wisdom of the teachings. An employee who works very hard every day to make as much money as possible or to receive a promotion is not practicing giving. However, if this employee works hard just to benefit the company and society, and not for the sake of money or a promotion, he or she is cultivating giving and will never be tired. I, myself, enjoy traveling around the world to help people to understand the Buddha's teachings, and in this way, I'm practicing the giving of teaching. I help others to better understand how to change their lives in the hope that they will be able to reduce their troubles, obtain joy and wisdom, and thus be able to lead a better life. In 1984, I made my 3rd trip to Los Angeles. I went straight from the airport to the site where this speech was being held and began a talk that lasted 9 hours. I delivered the talk while standing, but at the end, it was the listeners who were tired, not I. The longer I spoke, the more energized I felt and the stronger my voice became. Why? Because I was so enthused about introducing the profound and subtle Buddhism to the listeners. This is the joy of teaching of Buddhism and frankly, the best nutrition. Nowadays, people talk a great deal about health food. But it is false nutrition. Buddhists talk of keeping a pure, quiet and happy heart. Having this heart and obtaining this joy will enable us to remain healthy and young. Worry will only make us old and sick. In the US, some social practices are actually giving. Most people pay for medical insurance for protection against catastrophic medical bills in the event they become ill. However, we make preparations for a possible illness as we make our monthly premium payments, then we are bound to become ill. If we do not, then we will have wasted our money. But if we change our way of viewing this to the thought that our money has been used to help those that are sick, then we will have practiced giving and will never become ill. Why? Because we have developed the cause of no illness. If we give to and look after aged people, we will receive good karmic results in the future. When we ourselves become aged, then others will come to take care of us. Today, most people have car insurance. If we think that we are making payments just to help those who may encounter accidents, then we will never encounter misfortune because we have given of wealth and compassion. So, our way of thinking makes the difference in whether we are a bodhisattva or an ordinary person. What is this difference? A bodhisattva is awakened and always does things to benefit others, whereas ordinary people are always doing things to benefit themselves. When we do everything for others, we can get wonderful benefits, too wonderful to imagine. The kinds of giving are boundless and can be practiced any time, any day, any way. In Buddhism, the giving of wealth consists of external and internal wealth. External wealth is comprised of worldly possessions, whereas internal wealth concerns our body. For example, organ donation is an example of the internal giving of wealth, as is helping others physically. If we volunteer to help others without expectation of benefit, we are again practicing the giving of internal wealth. We can practice this giving of internal wealth all the time. We see that in the Buddhist criteria for good and bad, all deeds arising from the wish to help others are good, and all deeds arising from selfishness are bad. This may all be difficult for a beginner to follow. Why should we not benefit ourselves? The reason why ordinary people cannot attain Buddhahood is due to the two attachments of self and all knowledge. By ridding ourselves of self-attachment, we attain the level of Arhat. By ridding ourselves of the knowledge attachment, we attain Buddhahood. If we have every thought to benefit ourselves, our self-attachment will grow daily. Even as we plant some good causes, we will only increase our attachment. The Buddha told us that if we wish to transcend the cycle of birth and death, we must rid ourselves of both self and the knowledge attachment. Self-attachments are afflictions that hinder us from attaining purity of mind. Knowledge attachment hinders us from uncovering our all-knowing wisdom, our true wisdom. The giving of teachings. The second form of giving brings us wisdom, intelligence and skill. Generally, it falls into two categories: Buddha's teachings and worldly teachings. To enthusiastically impart all of our knowledge to others who are interested in learning is the giving of teachings. It is not limited to the teachings of Buddhism. It could be teaching others cooking, engineering, etc. It is the unconditional and free imparting of knowledge or skills in any field. A schoolteacher who instructs out of the sincere desire to help others is also practicing the giving of teaching. A teacher who does so just to earn a living or prestige is not. A genuine practitioner of the giving of Dharma is very enthusiastic and is never weary of giving. When we give for self-benefit, we will become disappointed upon failing to obtain prestige or other benefits, and will thus lose our enthusiasm. On the other hand, a bodhisattva is always compassionately working for the benefit of all sentient beings, and never attaches any conditions to what is given. In the Infinite Life Sutra, the Buddha told us that of all the kinds of giving, that of the teachings is foremost. Worldly teachings do not get to the heart of the matter. Buddhism is a perfect education, which can help us to attain the boundless wisdom, virtue and skill to enable us to be free of all worries, leave the cycle of birth and death, put an end to reincarnation, and ultimately to attain Buddhahood. This giving is perfect and remarkable, and it is only found in Mahayana Buddhism. All Buddhas praise this giving. In Buddhism, the most important form of giving is that of books, audio and videotapes, CDs, as well as that of accepting others' invitations to lecture and thus, to create opportunities for them to learn the Buddha's teachings. However, many currently circulated Buddhist materials are printed with copyright warnings. These are not the giving of Dharma but are commercial endeavors. Some Dharma masters, when requested to speak, ask how much they will be paid. These are not true giving of the teachings. The act of a bodhisattva is to benefit others, not self. If a person truly wanted to learn of Buddhism, a bodhisattva would simply go to them to fulfill their wish. They would never do anything that would make it difficult for any person willing to learn, as long as the person could receive the true benefits from Buddhism. The giving of fearlessness. This form of giving has broad implications as it helps to remove the fears and insecurities of others. For example, if foreign forces were invading our country, we could join the army to help protect the citizens. If someone was afraid to go home alone at night, we could offer to go with him or her. Being a vegetarian is another example, because if we all follow this practice, then all living creatures would no longer regard us as a threat. Any act that helps sentient beings feel safe and secure is the giving of fearlessness. In doing so perfectly, we will definitely gain health and long life. Emperor Qianlong of the Qing dynasty attained wealth, intellect, wisdom, health and long life. Honorable as a great emperor and wealthy as one who possesses the entire world. He was truthful, clever, wise and lived a long life. He was emperor for 60 years and supreme emperor, father of an emperor, for 4 years. He was endowed with these great virtues because in his previous lifetimes, he had practiced the cultivation of the giving of wealth, dharma and fearlessness. The Buddha teaches that bodhisattvas must practice the paramita of giving. Paramita means perfection. The question is, how can we practice giving to the state of perfection? We do so simply by turning our thoughts around, by no longer thinking of ourselves, but solely of others. In this way, we will be practicing giving anytime, anywhere. But we will not yet have achieved perfect giving. Perfect giving is to let go, to be willing to give all that we possess, and to help all others. Giving and gaining are one. If we have not practiced giving, we will not gain. When we give less, we gain less. When we give more, we gain more. Do you have fears, worries? Do you have birth and death, reincarnation? Why aren't you willing to discard them? Giving is to part with all of these to attain great perfection and great freedom. This is the ultimate perfect giving, the paramita of giving. We start by parting with our material possessions and gradually part with everything. If we are able to let go of our afflictions, birth and death, then we will uncover the purity, wisdom and abilities within our self-nature. This is the end of this episode. We will pick up the rest in next episode. A friendly reminder, your engagement through likes, shares, and subscriptions plays a pivotal role in disseminating these profound teachings, extending their reach to touch the lives of innumerable individuals in pursuit of enlightenment and inner tranquility. We sincerely thank you for embarking on this enlightening journey with us, united in our mission to make the profound teachings of the Buddha readily available to all who seek them. Buddhism's timeless wisdom carries the potential to illuminate minds and bring solace to countless souls. Your participation is not just an act of support for our channel, but a contribution to a broader cause: the dissemination of enlightenment, compassion, and peace. Together, we can bridge the gap between seekers and the invaluable teachings of the Buddha, breaking down barriers and making these teachings accessible to people from all walks of life. Every like, every share, and every subscription strengthens this bridge, fostering a world where the wisdom of the Buddha can bring solace, understanding, and harmony to an ever-widening audience. Your continued support is deeply appreciated, and we invite you to stay connected with us on this meaningful journey. Let's unite in our efforts to ensure that the radiant teachings of the Buddha touch the hearts and minds of all who yearn for them.